Hi, I'm Emma Sutherland, clinical naturopath, author, mum, and your host today. With over 20 years in clinical practice, I have helped thousands of women and their families transform their health with evidence-based integrative strategies. I am deeply passionate about making science simple and actionable so that you can feel confident and empowered in your health decisions. This channel is your go-to for trusted insights, expert conversations, and practical tools that support real-life wellness. As a naturopath, I see firsthand how financial stress can take a real toll on our physical and our emotional well-being. That's why in this special series, we're exploring the powerful connection between financial health and whole body health, because true wellness includes your bank balance as well. Today, we're diving into something I am genuinely very curious about: how our relationship with money evolves across each decade of life. From the pocket money of our teenage years to navigating our 20s with limited budget and big dreams, right through to the retirement years when preserving what we've built becomes the focus. Our financial needs, wants, and behaviors shift dramatically over our lifetime. What fascinates me is how money plays such a central, often emotional role in each life stage, shaping our decisions, our identity, and even our sense of security. Whether it's the stress of buying your first home in your 30s, juggling school fees and super contributions in your 40s, or the deep desire for freedom and legacy in your 60s or 70s, money is always there, evolving with us. So in this episode, we're going to unpack the key theme of each decade: how we use money, what drives our financial choices, and what we can learn from looking at the big picture. Because sometimes a bit of hindsight or a look ahead can change the way we manage money right now. So let's take a walk through the decade and explore how money weaves its way through every single chapter of our lives. Starting off with the teen years have a theme of learning and dependency. We're still dependent on our parents, but we're beginning to understand money's value. We start earning money for the first time and need to navigate our spending versus our savings. Maybe we learn the very basics of budgeting. My McDonald's job pays me $60 a week, and that hoodie I want is $130, so I need to work just over 2 weeks to buy it. Now, for me, I moved out of home at 16, so that meant increasing my shifts at the local supermarket, plus picking up a cafe job to pay rent, bills, food, and all the rest that go along with it. I lived week to week with barely enough to get by, and to be honest, looking back at it, I don't know how I did it. I went to school, then I went to work, then I went to bed, and I pressed repeat. Somehow, I managed to pass year 12 with a C average. When we're moving into our 20s, the theme is exploration and foundation. In our 20s, we're transitioning to independence, building more autonomy. Our income may be unstable, such as a casual job while we're at uni. We can realize the pain of rent, student loans, car insurance, but we want the social life, the latest shiny object. There may be hard landing with credit card debt, overspending, and the lack of an emergency fund. Budgeting becomes hard to ignore as life becomes more adulting based. But that being said, in your 20s, you have the advantage of time. You have very little responsibility. It's the decade to take more risks and to learn how to fail. At 20, I spent approximately 2 months at university studying accounting, then realized that despite being good with numbers, my dad was a maths teacher, it must have been osmosis, I hated accounting. So I packed a bag and spent the next 5 years traveling between the Greek island of Ithaca and Australia. I would work just enough in each place to then travel to the other one and live for another 6 months. At 24, I moved to Sydney and discovered naturopathy, which was my true vocation. I did my naturopathic certification at a private college at the same time as a uni degree. And I really didn't want to come out with a HECS debt. So I worked nights in restaurants to pay for my education as I went. Then let's look at our 30s. The theme here is stabilisation and growth. In this stage, you are building stability and identity. You may have bought your first home, maybe you had a child, and your career is really taking shape. You need to balance long-term goals such as paying off the mortgage with present demands such as childcare and health insurance. The lifestyle creep may happen. You're earning more, but your lifestyle is costing you more as well, leaving less to save and invest. For me, my 30s were a real mixed decade. I was building my clinical practice. I was investing heavily in my human capital and gaining skills to fast track my career. By the way, human capital is simply your ability to earn money through your time, skills, and knowledge. So that left me asset poor, but human capital rich. I didn't have a house or any significant asset, but I had a thriving clinical practice and other avenues of income were opening up. The TV show, a book deal, radio, etc., etc. I had Sophia at the age of 37, which then completely changed the way I thought about money. I now no longer had just me. I was solely responsible for another human being. Sophia's dad was not in the picture, nor did he support her financially. I was on my own in every way. I was really adulting now, and basically I learned to hustle like a mofo. My back was against the wall so hard that failure just wasn't an option. That stretched me until I thought I would break. It's outside the comfort zone that we grow the most, and damn it, I did a lot of personal growth in my 30s. Then when we look at our 40s, the theme is peak earning, but also pressure. This can be a high expense decade. You may be buried in kids' school fees, trying to pay a big chunk off the mortgage. Maybe you got divorced and had your wealth halved. If you're on track from investing in your 20s, you'll start seeing the benefit of that compounding. You may start thinking about retirement planning. I mean, how the hell are you going to be able to afford it? For me, in my 40s, I secured my first mortgage and I got seriously curious about the world of money. I started working with people that were experts in the field. I read so many books, listened to hundreds of podcasts, soaked up a million bits of information, and I let it all just distill and percolate in my brain. During this time, I made a financial plan, one that would prevent my greatest fear, which was being like my parents with a mortgage and only the pension to both pay the mortgage and to live off. That was not going to be my path. I was determined to do better and not leave Sophia responsible for me financially. Then my financial plan was to invest and diversify into real estate, shares, Bitcoin, and precious metals, and to keep growing my own financial literacy. Next, we're going to look at the decade of the 50s, where the theme is preparation and reflection. So in this decade, the kids are less needy as a rule. You may be thinking about downsizing or maximizing your superannuation contributions to make the most of that accumulation phase. Your mortgage could either be scaring the pants off you, or you can see the light at the end of that long tunnel. Maybe you're helping out more with elderly parents or possibly getting curious about passion projects and things outside your work identity. For me, I am absolutely in the camp of my mortgage is scaring the pants off me, but I have a plan on that front. Sophia's only 13, so a long way off leaving the nest. My word for this year is implementation. What I mean by that is simply implement the financial plan that I've laid out. Make the extra mortgage repayments. Invest into ETFs, both inside and outside of my super, plus add any bonus money into Bitcoin or precious metals. Before I go any further, don't forget this is not financial advice. This is simply what I have learned along the way. Now in our 60s, this decade's theme is transition to retirement. You consolidate your super contributions, make the last push to pay off that mortgage, and you think about that bucket list that's tucked away in the back of a drawer, and you think about what you'd actually like to tick off that. Maybe it's some travel, perhaps it's looking after grandkids or starting a new hobby. Now, my goal for this decade is to be free 1 to 2 days a week from the age of 65 so I can be a yaya, which is the Greek word for grandma, for Sophia's kids. That is super important to me. My mortgage will be paid off by the age of 67 so I can focus on my love of travel, spending more time in Greece, as well as working, doing what I love to do. Now, for our 70s, the theme here is reflection and legacy building. Money's role in this decade is to provide security and legacy. You'll have higher healthcare costs and needs. You may be looking at moving one last time. And generally, you need peace of mind and comfort where you simplify your finances and make sure everything is in place. In this decade, I want to focus on giving back, leaving a legacy, and being a very fun yaya to the grandkids. Now, as we've explored today, money is far more than just dollars and cents. It's woven into our identity, our goals, our values, shifting shape as we grow and move through life seasons. Now, I hope that this episode has sparked some insights or maybe even challenged the way you think about your financial journey. Because wherever you are, whether you're saving your very first paycheck or planning your legacy, there's wisdom to be gained from understanding the bigger picture. Before we wrap up today, here's a few questions I want you to ponder. The first is, how has your relationship with money changed since your teenage years? The next is, what financial decisions from a previous decade still impact your life today? Next question, do your current financial goals align with your values and stage of life? Also, what money habits are you proud of, and which ones would you like to shift? How are you preparing mentally and financially for your next decade? What does financial freedom mean to you at this current stage of life that you're at? And my last question for you today is, are you building a financial legacy that reflects what matters to you most? Now, if any of those questions really resonated with you, I'd love to hear from you. Share your thoughts in the comments below. Thanks for joining me today. If you have enjoyed this episode, please leave a review or share it with someone who's navigating their own financial life stage. Lastly, if you want the worksheet from today's episode, all you need to do is send me an email at emma@studio-you.com.au and I'll email it to you. Until next time, remember your money story is always evolving and it's never too late to turn the page. But before you go, if you want to show your appreciation, there are 3 simple ways you can do it. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Rate and review my channel. And third, share this video with someone you know that will get value from it. Many thanks in advance.